Welcome back. This is episode 2 of my UC Q&A series. Today I'm going to be talking all about housing. I'm going to cover my personal experience living in East Lothian my freshman year, what living in a living learning community was like, and what a living learning community is, some miscellaneous anecdotes about res hall events and roommate bonding, and more. And to get a different perspective, I also interviewed several other UCR students to get their experiences about living in the dorms, the UCR apartments, and even some off-campus apartments in Riverside, so stay tuned for the interviews. And if you haven't seen episode 1 of this series yet about how to get an on-campus job, I'm going to link it above so you can check that out too. But without further ado, let's get into the video. I lived in East Lothian during my freshman year. I lived in a triple room, meaning that I had 2 roommates instead of 1. We had a bunk bed in our room as well as a single bed on the other side. Some really great benefits about triple rooms is that they're cheaper than double rooms and they're also bigger than double rooms, so it's great to have some open space to not feel cramped, especially when there's 3 people in the same space. We actually had so much open space in the center of our room that we occasionally set up a projector and made pillow forts on the floor to watch movies, and during the holiday season we even put up a mini Christmas tree. So also, having a bigger room made moving in and moving out easier because you were able to fit several families in at one time who were moving things in and out, so it's just really nice to have that extra space. East Lothian is typically seen as the better wing of Lothian. You have East Lo and West Lo. Both East and West Lothian have their own laundry room, but in West Lo it's located in the basement, and in East Lo it's located on the 2nd floor. So for me, I was really lucky because I lived on the 2nd floor, so I didn't have to carry my laundry up and down stairs. Another thing about the West Lothian laundry room is that it seemed to always have washers and dryers out of commission. We had a lot of West Lo people that would come to our laundry room because of that. I almost always did my laundry on the early hours of the weekend to avoid the traffic so that I didn't have to fight over a washer or dryer. East Lothian is also the wing that's attached to the Lothian Common area where res hall events are held. This happens on the ground floor, and lucky for us East Lo people, we were usually first in line for events because all we had to do was walk downstairs. We're also straight across from the dining hall, which is really convenient. Oftentimes I just popped in for a minute or 2 to grab a muffin and a coffee before riding my scooter to my 8 a.m. classes. Since I mentioned the Lothian Common area, I'll say a little bit about Lothian's facilities. The common area has large pool tables that you can check out equipment for, as long as tables for studying with people, some chairs that you can just hang out with your friends. We also have a small gym room on the ground floor. When I was a part of the Hesse summer program, I often used the treadmill down there just to freshen up in the mornings. There are also 2 small piano rooms that each have 1 piano. Lothian also has a larger study lounge with chalkboards that you check out chalk for in the front office. During finals and midterm season, the study lounge is almost always packed into the late hours of the night. But that's essentially all I have to say for facilities. Lothian is located on a really pretty hill close by the other dorms as well as the Glenmore Market. During the summer program, I used to have a little hummingbird friend that would visit me outside the window every morning, so it's located in a really pretty part of campus, and I really loved my time in Lothian. It was a really great experience for anyone that wants to get that first year college experience and make friends. Over the course of the last few months, I've gotten the opportunity to speak to a lot of current freshmen who are learning online right now, and a lot of them tell me that it's hard to feel that sense of UCR community from home, given the fact that you're isolated from other UCR students. But I'm optimistic that many people have told me they're still excited about moving into housing once it becomes safe to do so. I interviewed one current freshman, and this is what she had to say about how she feels about moving into housing.
I would recommend dorming because it's a good opportunity to try to find people to share interests with. Even though we're in online school right now, it's a little bit hard to obviously interact with our students. But once we do go back in person, I would definitely recommend dorming, as it not only helps you connect with other people, you get to finally experience that college life that everyone seems to be talking about.
Lived in a living learning community my freshman year. It was called Enginuity, so my hall was exclusively for engineering majors, with the exception of one of my 2 roommates who is a biology major, a move-in day mix-up put her in our room, which I'm really glad for. But yeah, so all of my hallmates were engineering majors, and that was really nice because of the fact that we had similar classes with each other. A lot of us could approach other people if we had questions about homework or if we wanted to study with people for upcoming exams. Also, my hall RA was an engineering major as well, and it's nice to have almost like a mentor just to be able to approach and ask questions about your course plan or ask about future classes and which professors you should pick. And also, it's funny when you're walking back and forth to your classes and you're in the math buildings or the engineering buildings and you happen to see your RA, it's just nice to be able to recognize a familiar face. I really enjoyed being in the engineering hall. Like I said, it was great to be able to recognize people in my classes. Just to know that you have someone that you can reach out to is really comforting, especially as a first year when you go in not knowing many people. So just knowing that you have connections already is great. Another great benefit of being in Enginuity was that you get priority registration for your classes. This is really convenient not only for your core classes, but when you're trying to register for breadth or elective classes that fill up very quickly at UCR, the priority registration puts you ahead of other students and helps you from falling behind on your term plan. One thing that I would say about my hall, being that almost all of us were engineering majors, is that it wasn't a very social hall. It's typical of engineering majors or STEM majors in general to be more on the introverted side, so whenever my RA hosted events in our hall, we didn't have great turnout. Oftentimes my roommates and I would leave our door open and play music so that hopefully people walking by would pop in and say hi, but it rarely worked. So if you're someone who wants a really tight-knit network, maybe the Enginuity LLC isn't for you, but I would say that the priority registration benefit alone was incentive enough to still join even if you're a social person like me. At one point during the school year, I had a calculus midterm the day after Halloween, so I was bummed that I wouldn't be able to go out and do anything for Halloween, so I came up with the idea to have a hall trick-or-treat where anyone who wanted to participate could leave candy outside their door or put a sticker on their door so you could tell who was participating, and that was the most social I've ever seen in my hall. I was really glad that even if just for a day, people got out and mingled more, so I don't know whether it was just a situational thing with my specific year that I happened to get a lot of really introverted people. That might not be the case for every year, but just my personal experience, I think I had a lot of shy people in my hall, so that's just one thing to keep in mind, is that you might not get a super close-knit group of people like you might get at other halls. Res Hall events are a really great way to meet people and make friends. You often recognize people from your classes and people from previous events, and almost always the event facilitators will do some kind of icebreaker for the groups. My favorite event involved a petting zoo where the school hired an educational group to come out, and I got to hold a piglet and pet rabbits and ducks, and just the little things like that made the Res Hall events so much fun. A lot of them also had giveaways or a prize for showing up or free food, so I loved the events, and you didn't have to be from Lothian to come to the Lothian events, and vice versa for any other dorm that was hosting an event. You could invite friends from other halls or from other buildings, so the events were a really great way to meet people, not just from your own dorm, but from other dorms as well. As far as my roommate situation, I went in not knowing my roommates, and I didn't choose them specifically. Inside the housing portal, you can either choose roommates on your own, or you can fill out a student profile with questions like what music do you like, what times do you wake up and go to bed, etc. And the system matches you to compatible people, so that's what happened with myself and my roommates. I really love my roommates, and I'm really good friends with them still. We talk all the time, and before COVID happened, we were actually planning on living together again in the UCR apartments this year. If it turns out that fall quarter goes back to in-person and we move in, then I will be living with them again. So I'm really happy with how the system paired us together, and they're really great. I know that we're going to be friends for a really long time, so I've never had any roommate squabbles or anything like that. You know, we just clicked instantly. We always got along. We always had a lot of fun together. And even though our schedules were different sometimes with work and with classes, we never really bothered each other or anything like that. You know, it was really easy living with them. Everyone was so easygoing, and it was a lot of fun having two complete strangers that ended up being some of my best friends by the time the year was over. After your first quarter in the dorms, I believe, the dorms make you fill out an online contract just to see how things are going with your roommates, and if you're getting along, they make you discuss hypothetical questions like, are you okay with your roommate's friends coming over, and Are you okay with them playing music out loud? And all of this was stuff that we had already discussed or just figured out along the way. But rest assured, if you're worried about not knowing how to approach stuff like this, or if you're worried that you might have hypothetical problems or squabbles with your roommates, the dorms will be able to facilitate that conversation with you. And you can always come to your RA if you're having difficulties with your roommates, which, like I said, I never had any problems with mine. I really love those girls. But if you are worried about that, or if you end up having future problems with roommates, you can always request a roommate change or a room change and just be able to talk about your RA with what's going on, have them step in if they need to. But I have not heard of any people in our hall that were having roommate problems, so I think it's pretty rare. I don't think that you have to worry about anything like that if you are randomly matched roommates like I was. I interviewed several UCR students about their previous experiences in the dorms, as well as their current experiences in on and off-campus apartments, so listen in for some really helpful insight, and for those people who opted in to include their social media handles, definitely be sure to check that out, and I just wanted to thank them so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
I thought that dorming was one of the best experiences I think I got out of college. I was in Pentland, and I think the biggest success was because it was in a suite type of layout. It allowed us to have our own privacy, but also allowed us to have a really good sense of community when we needed it, when we looked for it. And I found my greatest friends there. I was in the science type of like housing, so everyone there was like science related, like either biology, chemistry, environmental science. There was one stat major who somehow made it in there. I don't know how, but we all became really good friends, and I think it was really a savior for the academic and personal like anxiety and kind of nervousness. So whenever we had any concerns about, you know, what we're gonna do for school, we had each other to rely on. And whether it was anything personal, like the friends that we made there soon became our family. So they were like, we had each other's back. And I think that was one of the best things ever. What I missed the most, I think, was the spontaneity of it all. Every day, every night was so random. It was crazy. I think I still like kind of have these flashbacks of like us doing like the most randomest things, like running around in the dark or just going together in the morning to get some breakfast and just talking and just having each other. I had a triple suite. So I had 3 people in one room. I was in the bottom layout, and the 2 other roommates that I had, they were in the loft. So it was pretty cool. I had a little bit more privacy, I guess, because I was in the bottom.
Hi, my name is Alexia. I am a second-year computer engineering major, and during my first year, I was living on campus. So for me, I lived in Penland Hills. I was in a triple, so I had 2 other roommates, and I happened to sleep actually in the top bunk, top part. I call it upstairs. It just made it easier for me, but yeah, I lived with 2 other roommates, and I was in a suite full of girls. So that's how Penland works. When you go live in a suite, you usually typically live in a suite with people of the same gender as you, of which you identify. And I was in a suite full of girls. It was 3 other rooms. There was another triple, and then there was 2 doubles. So there was ended up being 10 girls in the suite. We shared 2 bathrooms and 2 showers. I really liked Pentland Hills just because I moved in from a household of 7 people. So I really liked having, I guess, a little bit more of my own space. Even if I shared it with 2 other people, it was still my own space in a sense. And I personally love not having to share my bathroom with too many people. So, and since we were able to split it off, I really only shared my bathroom with like 4 other people, which was really nice compared to like Lothian or AI, where you have to share with like everybody in your hall. So I really enjoyed that aspect. What I also really liked about Penland Hills is that the community space is not that far away. So like literally going out of my dorm and getting out of my suite, since I was living in the third floor, it made it easier. Right there was the community space, and I almost every single day was out there with my friends, and it helped a lot just to not, because I know the stereotype of Penland Hills is that, oh, nobody's sociable, nobody gets out of their suite, like it's very quiet. It really depends on who you're hanging out with, because my building per se was not quiet at all, especially during our quiet hours. Yeah, we have quiet hours, but yeah, it depends on each building. But my building, we ended up forming a pretty good bond with some of the people there. So a lot of the people we were hanging out with, we were always out in the common area, and it's a nice space. It's a really nice space. You get a TV, couches, and tables. For what you're paying, you get a pretty good experience. The only thing though is you can't really control the AC. It's like only like 1 or 2 degrees up. But besides that, it was completely fine. I just stacked on blankets, or I didn't wear blankets, like a lot of like stuff that made me warm. But I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't trade anything for it. I would love to live in Penland Hills again. I mean, if I were to repeat my first year, not necessarily now because I like the apartment better. But I really did enjoy my time there. The 6 months I had at Penland, and I really miss a lot of the people that I hanged out with every day. Now again, I'm living back on campus. I just moved in a couple weeks ago, so having a little of the transition from home to apartment has been a little crazy, but I'm enjoying every aspect of being back on campus. I'm specifically living in Glenmore. Glenmore specifically, I really like the space. Within the few weeks I've been here, it's been great. Definitely an upgrade from the dorms, I could say that. I now have my personal bed and room. So the background here is my own room. Nobody else lives in this room. It is purely for me, which is, I think, is really amazing, because now I can finally have my own space. I don't really have to share with anybody else. And it is kind of like in the dorm sense where it's like one unit, but then once you go out, it's like the actual apartment. So my roommate has a room right next to me, and then there's 2 other rooms because I live in a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. But because of COVID, it's only the 2 of us, and I only pay the amount I would pay if I were with 3 other roommates. So this is really nice. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I actually get my own bathroom since there's only 2 of us, so I use the other bathroom on the other side, and that comes with a shower and the sink and the toilet, of course. But it's purely my own. I have all my space, like all my stuff there for toiletries, feminine care, skincare, all that. It's over there. So instead of like in the dorms where I had to put, because you kind of have to share the bathrooms, you can't really put all your toiletries and all that stuff in the bathroom. It has to be in the room. So I really like that, and I can separate that. It doesn't have to be in my room. I also have my own closet here. Because it's New Glenmore, we get the wardrobe-ish closet. But if you live in Old Glenmore, yeah, there's 2 different buildings. There's New Glenmore and there's Old Glenmore. Old Glenmore was built like around like mid 2000s, and New Glenmore was around like 2010-ish, I want to say. But the Old Glenmore has built-in closets. I don't remember the building numbers at Old Glenmore, but if you want a built-in closet instead of a wardrobe, you should look out for that. Within New Glenmore, we also have more movable furniture. So I'll show you right here. So this is my bed. And then here underneath, you can see that there's drawers. These drawers are movable. So I can like take it out of the bed and then move it around as much as I want to. These can also be taken out to be its own separate drawer outside of the bed, but I decided to keep them there. Also, my desk is movable, so I can move it anywhere I want to, and I have a movable drawer set, so it can be underneath my desk or it can be on the side of my desk. Which I really like about New Glenmore is that all this furniture is very movable and can be up to your taste. So you don't have to necessarily stay in the furniture setting that it was already in when you come here. You also get a living room, so that's your common area for the people in your apartment. So maybe common area for the 4 people, however many people are in your apartment. There's also a study room within each hall, like hall being like the floor. So if you do want to go to a study room, you don't have to look too far because it's actually here within each floor. And there is elevators that all function, so that's really great. And it does feel like an actual apartment complex just for students. So that's really nice that a lot of us here are students, and there's not a lot of other like different types of population here. Some other features about Glenmore that I really like is that it has a good kitchen. I really like the kitchen set here. In every dorm, you get a little mini fridge. Well, in the apartment, you get a big fridge for everybody, so that's really nice. Because Glenmore is really close on campus, I also get to have a dining plan, and I'm still on the same dining plan from last year. So I get about 150 meal swipes, and I don't remember the price point for the dining dollars, but I get a good amount. So I'm living off the same dining plan that I was last year, but if you prefer to cook more and don't really want to be in the dining hall too often, there is different dining plans that offer you more dining dollars and meal swipes. So the dining dollars being you can spend at Glenmore Market, and there you can buy your groceries and all that. But if you do live in Glenmore, you do have to have a dining plan. That is the only downside, you could say, if you don't really want to be living off the dining plan. The other apartments, because they're a little bit more off campus, being like not that close to the dining halls, you're not required to have a dining plan. But it's only Glenmore, because Glenmore is right next to Penland, actually. If you look into the map, the Penland RSO is in this like weird like U circle, and in that U circle, that's where Glenmore is. So it's also like on the other aspect, Lothian's right here, Glenmore's right there. So it's within like that whole like residential area. So we are required to have a dining plan, but I find that really helpful because if I don't want to necessarily make food, I can go to the dining hall and get some food. So
I've been living at the University Village Towers, which is an off-campus apartment. It's fully student applicants. If you're not a student, you can't live there. So basically you'll have UCR students and community college students living there only. And because it's students, they can more easily assign you roommates if you don't have a designated roommate. So they'll just have you fill out an application, and they'll assign you based on like what's your major, what's your interests, and etc. I never dormed, so I don't know what it's like dorming, but I do know what it's like going to school in person and having to walk to school from an apartment. The UVT is actually really close to school. It's like a couple blocks away, and it usually takes me like 10 to 15 minutes to walk to school and get to class. I'd say there's a lot of pros about living off campus. One, because it's a lot cheaper, because you don't have to pay for like meal plans and dorm fees. You have your own schedule basically, and it'll cause you to like become more independent and practice like time management skills, because on top of needing to do all of your schoolwork, you need to do all your chores, wash the dishes, go do laundry, go work out and everything, and as well as plan in advance all of your stuff before you go to school, because when you go to school, everything in your backpack is all that you have for that day. So it kind of gets you to become more independent. But the only downside that I can see to not to living in an apartment off campus is that you have kind of like a distance between the school and yourself, your personal life. That could be something good if you prefer studying by yourself and stuff, but for resource wise, you're a bit distanced from like being with other people. It's a lot less available to you, because you'll have to go home every day and basically do all of your things that you need to do. and prep for the next day instead of just staying at school and everything's available to you.
It does force you to be more time manageable when it comes to like studying on your own time and then having to like then cook and then clean, whatever you have to do. And what's great about living at UV Towers is that like I lived on the dorms. I lived in Pentlands at UCR, and I noticed what I noticed very briefly is that it's a lot more quieter here. And there's like the walls here. If I live like right now, there's like no sound right now. Like I don't hear anyone at all.
Even though we live next to a freeway, we kind of don't hear it.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's great to study here. So you don't have to like, let's say, go to the library at night or in the morning. So you have a place to like study by yourself, and it's great. And one thing I noticed that at least for me, like there's a lot of social activities on the dorms, but over here there's also another like other ways to like be more social with like your peers and stuff like that. UV Towers does have some events that you can go to and meet other people. So like let's say you want to meet like make new friends or something like that, you guys can just like go over there, go on the website and see like what's on. Another perk I like about UV Towers is that it's also very, how do I say, like you get pretty much like a bang for your buck. It's basically it's cheaper compared to the dorm life, because dorm life you don't have as much room to live in. Like I literally lived in like a 3 roommate dorm room, and then like it cost like I think at least $1,000, and that was a cheaper option. And then at UV Towers it's like, let's say like $900 for like 2.
I think like $950, $960 to live in a double, and we get our own rooms and our own bathrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's great because like I have like plenty of room to walk around, and like at my dorms it's like literally like 2 beds on the sides. It is very tiny, so if you're someone who wants more privacy and like I guess like more places to walk around, stuff like that, then I recommend UV Towers. And financial aid wise, it shouldn't impact it too much, because the UCR financial aid office will give you money in the form of a check to pay off the rent and stuff like that.
And that's going to wrap up this video. So if you've gotten to this point, thank you for staying tuned. I know that this is a lot of information, but I hope it's been helpful. I would recommend looking at the UCR housing website if you want to know more about amenities and pricing for the dorms and apartments. It's definitely the best source of information for that. Just so you know, the UCR campus apartment applications for the 2021 to 2022 school year are actually already open. I know that a lot is uncertain right now about fall quarter, but given the announcement about the possibility of transitioning fall back to in-person classes, I think it's better safe than sorry to fill out an application. You can always cancel it or go back into the system and change it if you need to, but I think it's better to at least get on the wait list in case fall goes back to normal. I'll link the UCR housing website in the description below, as well as a direct link to the UCR housing portal. Also, one thing to look out for is the Serrano Kauai housing is going to be opening for students in fall quarter for the very first time, so look into that as well if you're interested. I will also link my Instagram once again in the description if you want to ask me questions, or you can just comment your questions below. My next video in this series is going to be a general Q&A of all the miscellaneous questions that current freshmen have submitted to me so far. I'm really excited for that video, so subscribe and get notified when the next video goes up, and I'll see you next time.